All right, here we am. Here we am. Here we am. Here we are. Here I am. It's Sunday, August 10th. How'd that happen? Sunday, August 10th. I swear to God, somebody's sped up time. Don't you think? I mean, it is mind-boggling to me how fast time is flying. It's like, come on, slow down. What's going on? Anyway, quick mention. Have you heard that one yet? I think you have. You did. Jason Walter saw the being ripping across the logging cut with the two blue lights. Round balls of light that dropped down and trailed in behind the being's chest height. So last evening, Sarah and I took the niece out and we got some food. We were sitting there and I was really inquisitive because I said to Sarah, I go, where did you see the lights in the house? And it was when we first moved in. And there was a sticker on the table we're sitting at. A sticker about that big. And she says, about that size right there. And I'm like, no way. What color were they again? And she said they were blue. Two blue lights were ripping around in the house. And the kids saw various colored lights downstairs in our house moving around. And then Sarah said, I go, what were they doing? She says, she's just kind of slowly moving around. And then they just, boom, disappeared right through the wall. Very interesting, right? These round balls of energy. Who are they? How did they get in that form? You know, like we don't have enough questions right now altogether on our plates, right? Oh, that's some hot coffee. Hot coffee. Where's my glass? Here's my glass. What am I doing today? When are you guys going to watch this one? I don't know. Maybe in a day or two, possibly. By the time you're watching this, I am probably on my... what time is it? These launch at 5 in the morning? So that means I'm having my coffee. I'm getting ready to leave the dock while you're watching this one. It's my last week. One more week. Then I'm at home solo for a week. Sarah's going back to New Brunswick. And then she comes home and we go to the north and jump into the grizzly infested forests. And hopefully I find the bolt to my rifle or it finds me. And who knows, maybe somebody will have a conversation with me this trip up north. Now, what do we got? This email is titled, 2 Encounters. Hello, Steve. I grew up a typical farm boy. And in the early 80s, I joined the U.S. Army. My first duty assignment was with the 175th Ranger Battalion. I spent the next 10 years as a Ranger and LRRP team leader, training and deploying around the world. I served from Urgent Fury and Just Cause through Desert Storm. Always at the tip of the spear, always in the field. For most of that time, I never saw or experienced anything that led me to believe Bigfoot was anything but a phantasm. In the minds of kooks, stoners, and or drunk hunter. No offense to you. No offense taken. Fortunately, my combat experience was limited, mostly hand-to-hand down at Bill's bar, but enough to know what scared shitless really means. Scared shirtless. But enough to know what scared shirtless really means. Once, General William C. Mayville Jr. and I, when Wild Bill was just a young lieutenant, got the shit kicked out of us by a 3-foot-tall howler monkey. That thing tossed us both like rag dolls. That experience and another taught me monkeys of any size were not to be effed with, which makes my encounters all the more poignant. How the hell do you get in a fight with a howler monkey? But yeah, any wild animal outpowers us like nothing. Even a little deer. Encounter 1, date 11th of July 1995, time 11 p.m. local. Location, north of Cummins, Michigan. Weather clear, moon phase full or near full. We had a cabin deep in a cedar forest on the banks of a river/creek miles from civilization. It was a beautiful spot and served as base camp for family vacations, hunting, fishing, and general outdoor adventuring. This particular night, after my family had all gone to bed, I stepped outside to do some stargaze, and suddenly off to my right, I heard what sounded like a baby's cry, just across the river. Now, who the hell left their baby out there in the middle of my cedar forest? I wondered. Thought it must be a bobcat or maybe a mountain lion, very rare in those parts. And just then I heard it again. I thought I should investigate because if, by some outrageous chance, it was a baby, I couldn't live with myself if I had done nothing. Across the river, went to the spot where I thought the sound had come from. And there in the moonlit forest, about 15 meters from me, I saw what I thought may be a small herd of deer, maybe 3 or 4 milling around. And at the time, it didn't occur to me that bobcats and deer don't really socialize. As I strained to confirm what I was seeing, a foul stench of wet dog, rotten duck eggs, and cow farts and skunk ass hit me. I'd smelled all those smells before, but never in such a strong combination. And just then, the deer bolted and started heading west. To the front, I knew the ground rose a few hundred feet out from the cedar into more open woodlands. There's a foot trail just north of me, paralleling the direction the deer were going, so I jumped on it and gave chase. I ran towards the hill, and the sound of something big crashing through the forest was just to my left, still about 15 meters in. I know once we hit the hill, the deer would head south away from me, come to a small valley that cutting back northwest, ending up on the back side of this hill. I went over the top expecting to cut them off on the other side. And as I crested the hill, I could see the deer had been there and gone. I saw a patch of small pine trees whipping violently back and forth at the north end of the little valley. I couldn't believe the deer outran me. At the time, I was in top shape and I could run down a deer given enough time and circumstance. I'd done it many times before just for fun. The path that the deer took was more than double the distance to mine, but they still outdistanced me times 2. It started dawning on me that something wasn't right. It's gone from investigating a crying baby, maybe bobcat, to a foul stench to chasing supersonic deer. Had I been in a combat zone, I would have defiantly stopped, set up a secure perimeter, and called in my key leaders for a quick what the F meeting before taking another step. And just then I caught another whiff of that foul smell. My curiosity was overwhelming, so I pressed on. If the deer kept going, they would run into another thick cedar forest next to a beaver pond. Hot on their heels, I believed they would take the easier path south, around the beaver pond into a clear cut, logged a few months earlier. Acting on the hunch, I took an intercept course and soon emerged from the woods on the edge of the clear cut just above the beaver pond. As I stood quietly catching my breath, I heard faint movement off to my right. A few seconds passed, then out from the shadows emerged what looked like a moose. What the F? I'd been chasing a moose? Making sounds like a bobcat and smelling like a city dump? Strange. Just kept getting stranger. The thought was still rolling around in my head when I realized this moose had no head and had no backside either, and it's huge. As this thing emerged from the tall brush and started uphill, broadside to me, moving from right to left about 20 to 25 meters away, I became paralyzed. My pants sucked halfway up my sigmoid colon as my pucker factor went way past 100%. New ground for me. I had full view of this thing for maybe 15 to 30 seconds. But time seemed to grind to a halt. I was as scared as I'd ever been. But I'd never felt so powerless. Fighting through cognitive distance, I had to force myself to accept that standing before me was a very large, hairy man / monkey / ape-like beast, built like an NBA basketball player with no neck. My mind was on the edge of shutting down when I flashed back to the howler monkey. Talk about PTSD. Fight or flight was overwhelming, but I didn't want to do either. I just wanted to curl up into the smallest ball I could possibly make and disappear. Then I thought if this thing was equal in strength to my little jungle friend, proportionate to its size, this beast would be able to pick up a bus and casually toss it like a sack of potatoes. That's pretty intimidating. As it continued strolling uphill through the clear cut, it moved effortlessly, as if it was walking through a freshly mowed hayfield. It didn't stumble once, not once. Its grace and form was amazing. The moon was full and at its peak in the night sky. It lit up the area almost like it was day. With that much light, I could clearly see huge muscles flexing under a coat of reddish-brown hair. It had a bulging chest and arms that hung down closer to its knees than humans. And as it was sideways to me, I could not see its face, but I could see its nose and eyebrow. By its posture, I felt it was saying, "I know you're there and you better stay there." As it walked, I noticed its speed was equal to that of a grown man jogging. Even if I had wanted to, there's no way I could have pursued this thing. Branches, stumps, and brush were everywhere. Since the sighting had begun, this thing had walked around me in an arcing circle, always sideways to me. As it came abreast of me, halfway up the hill, it turned and headed directly away from me. It was at that point I could see its back, as twice as wide as the biggest man I've ever seen. Its shoulders were the size of soccer balls. Its buttocks were so heavy muscled it seemed you could stand on top of it like the bumper of a delivery truck. It covered the 100 or so meters of clear cut in seconds. And as it reached the edge of the forest, I made a mental note of a tree limb it narrowly passed under before disappearing. And it was then I got small and worked my way back under a clump of pines. And I waited there until I could no longer hear or see signs of the beast or any possible co-beasts in the trail. A classic counter-ambush technique is to have a team in trail of the main party to roll up, disrupt by attacking the flank of a potential ambush. I wanted to make damn sure there wasn't any more of these beings around before I bolted. The last thing I wanted was to turn and run in panic just to run smack dab into another one, like a kid who accidentally breaks a window with his baseball just to turn and see a cop standing there. No thanks. As the sounds of snapping limbs faded in the distance, and I felt the coast was clear, I hauled ass back to the cabin in record time. I stood watch all night at the kitchen window, trying to slow my racing mind and get control of my emotions. I knew if I told my wife, it would be the last time we ever set foot there again. Also, at the time, I was still in the military. If I had told anyone, and it leaked out to my chain of command, my career would have been over. And it took me all night to get normal, or at least appear normal. And at daybreak, before anyone was up, I took a big shot of whiskey for courage. Grabbed a measuring tape and headed back to the spot I last saw Shaq's hairy cousin, Mighty Joe Young. People have asked why didn't you take a gun? The answer is very simple. At the time, I didn't own a gun big enough to kill whatever that thing was, so why bother? Shooting it, I thought, would just piss it off. Maybe an RPG or a .50 cal, but anything less, forget about it. When I arrived, I scanned the woods nervously as I fumbled with the tape. I thought a thing that big had to leave tracks, but I found none. And I finally managed to hook the tape on the limb long, just enough to get the other end to touch the ground. As the tape unhooked and fell down around me, I saw a measurement of just over 10 feet. I did it again just to be sure, and again, just over 10 feet. Then I shit myself. Yes, that's right. I literally shit myself. Me, a big tough army ranger, shit himself. Fortunately, there was a stream next to the cabin. A quick dip later and the evidence was successfully removed. Crazy. Encounter 2. July 16th, time 0200. Location, Berrien Center, Michigan. Weather, clear, moon phase full or near full. I was in my RV close to my in-laws' house where I planned to meet up with my wife. It was a cool summer night, so I had my window down. And as I came to the intersection of M140 and Pokagon Road, I was suddenly hit by an old familiar stench, one I hadn't smelled for over 20 years. And I'll be damned, I thought. There's a Sasquatch in these woods, LOL. A few minutes later, I arrived at the house. The time was now 2 a.m. So I parked the RV, crawled into the back, and went to bed. My father-in-law keeps guard dogs that bark their heads off. If a something farted, raccoon farted, so annoying. I thought it was odd that the dogs weren't barking, but I figured with Bigfoot around, they were being smart to lay low, which is what I planned to do. Early the next morning, the little honey came a-knocking, hard. "What the hell's wrong with you?" she said. Having been trained to resist interrogations, I quickly turned the tables on her with the old classic, "Oh, what's up?" "Why were you banging on the garage door last night?" she exclaimed. "You scared the crap out of me and the dogs." "Slow down," I replied. "It wasn't me. I'm not that stupid. Now tell me what happened." Satisfied I was telling the truth, she said, "Well, last night around 1 a.m. I heard something like a tuning knob on an old-time radio being turned quickly. I could hear loud, rapid talking, and I couldn't make out any words, like a radio going from station to station. When I looked out with the flashlight, I saw the dogs cowering in their houses, obviously scared of something." My wife's parents live just east of Berrien Springs, Michigan. The house sits well back off the road and is bordered by hundreds of acres of fields, orchards, vineyards, and marshland. The room we stayed in when visiting is just above the garage. It looked out over the drive and the woods to the west, and just outside there were 3 guard dogs in a kennel, as mentioned. That night, however, they refused to come out or make a sound. "What happened then?" I asked. What happened then?" I asked. She said after scanning with the flashlight, she went back to bed to finish her book. And minutes later, she heard a loud thud on the roof like marbles raining down. Crazy. She scanned again and again and saw nothing. She had just settled down for the second time when something or someone began rattling the garage door, followed by a loud series of bangs. She figured it was someone playing a prank, so to discourage any further pranking, she shut off her light and went to sleep. She did not know much about Bigfoot, much less believe they were real. And she asked me over and over again, if that wasn't you, then who was it? It was at that point I felt it was time she learned all about Bigfoot, and I told her the radio tuning sounds she heard are typical forms of communications for Sasquatch, along with whoops, howls, screams, and the like. I also told her, like most apes, when Bigfoots feel scared or threatened, they throw things, rocks, trees, and buses, etc. She was skeptical, but had never caught me lying, so reluctantly she pondered the information. After telling her about the throwing rocks stuff, as proof of claim, I got the ladder and climbed onto the roof, and there I found a large handful of rocks, enough to fill both hands cupped together. "See, I told you. Those rocks had come from over 100 feet away." She was astonished. Holy cow. Then we examined the garage door. It was clearly damaged and looked as if something big had tried to pull/push up on it. We found out the banging noise was the coiled door spring snapping in half. When the garage door repairman arrived, he was speechless. Besides having a sheared spring that would have taken thousands of pounds to force to break, some of the door panels were wrinkled too. The repairman said, "It's as if a hydraulic jack was used to force the door up." I told the repairman it was Bigfoot. I said, apparently Bigfoots became agitated, threw rocks at the house, then tried to open the garage door. The spring snapped. Must have scared them off. Dude looked at me like I'd just shit on his couch. I grinned and walked away. Later, I asked the little honey if she could remember anything else. I was looking for one thing in particular that would confirm my suspicions, and she thought a bit then and said, "Yeah, there was a nasty ass skunk around out here last night too." Bingo. We spent the rest of the day watching Bigfoot videos on YouTube, from Patterson Gimlin and Tabletop Mountain to the boys in Russia. We saw them all. And by the end of the day, she was ready to go full-on Sasquatching. And I was ready to drink. I hope these reports are a helpful addition to your collection. With enough testimonies, we may one day know exactly what these things are, where they came from, and how to properly, i.e. safely, deal with them. I've never been humiliated or embarrassed telling my story, even when ridiculed. Rarely to my face, as most know I'm a trained killer. I know who I am and what I saw. I will say, however, I have lost acquaintances and business opportunities over the years as a result. So I've learned to suppress my urge to tell my story in mixed company or around business associates. Hopefully your work will eliminate that risk. I sincerely appreciate your project, no matter how it evolved, and what it's doing for all of us. For those who are helped by venting, you're providing a tremendous service. For those who have been traumatized and just want to forget, I want them to know you are no less a person for having come face to face with a real live hairy giant and lived. I'm sure there are some who didn't. God bless and Godspeed. Best regards, Joe Cartier, Ironwood, Michigan. Joe, I hope you didn't say not to use your name in the beginning of this, so now I got to go up and look just in case. No, you don't strike me as a type who doesn't want their name heard. Appreciate that, man. Well written. Easy to read for my challenged eyes and brain. And there you go. Welcome to the club. Michigan. Michigan, Michigan, Michigan. So many from Michigan. Yeah, people questioning your sanity kind of makes me laugh. There's a lot of people who know me, who I know them, and they think I'm nuts, apparently. So it kind of makes me laugh, though. It always makes me laugh. When I was at that wedding. I mean, it wasn't at the wedding. It was somewhere else. I was at my buddy's place. And he's the assistant fire chief captain in Whistler. We were talking about some people over the years and things that happened over the years. And I mentioned years ago, there's a couple guys that were intentionally following me to figure out where I was hunting and screw me. And back then, that was like, for me, I was a little hot back then too, right? Hardcore single cowboy from the mountains. More with the laws of nature than not. I felt really threatened, so I made sure it was a bad thing for them to do. Let's just put it that way. And I was laughing because one of their names came up, real douchebag. But anyway, one of their names came up when I was talking to my buddy a couple weeks ago. And I said, you imagine what those guys think about me? They must think I'm a freaking psychopath. And then my buddy went like this. Oh, there's more than a few people that think you're a psychopath. And I just started laughing my head off. Oh my God. Because I don't ever think about that, right? I don't ever think about, there's a lot of people, there is a lot of hunters in the world that follow my shit. I never think about that ever. I never ever think about how many people are actually on here. I just don't. But, because I always think that in a way that all of the hunters here in British Columbia aren't really following any of this. They don't have any interest. So I always think it's just us. You know, it's just the people who know what's up here that are watching right now and me. And I don't carry myself like there's people in the street that probably follow this and know who I am. I hope I'm making sense here. But now I guess the cat's out of the bag in a way, you know what I mean? Like I don't post on social media about this. I post lots of hunting and fishing. That's all I do is promote the outdoors in the real world. But I don't ever bring this topic up. So I guess maybe there's somehow some weird little thing in my brain thinks that all the people that are in the hunting community who know who I am, especially around British Columbia, I guess the cat's out of the bag. They must know that I talk about this on here, right? Which would allude to my buddy going, oh, there's a lot of people that think you're a psycho. I can only imagine, because especially at the fire hall, there's so many guys there. And I know at that one particular hall, they all know who I am. I know a lot of them. They're really good guys. And none of them talk to me about this topic when I see them. So I'd imagine there's a lot of ribbing and razzing going on there. Or maybe it's the other way. Maybe they're all quiet, going like this. Holy shit, this is real. Oh my God. And they secretly closet watch me. Who knows? I never think about it. Whatever. But it just does make me laugh. The thought of how many people around there that know me and are friendly with me when I see them deep down think I'm frickin' batshit crazy. Oh, that makes me laugh. I don't know why. Just because I am, I guess. But anyway, who's next? Rambling, babbling. See, it's just me by myself all the time when I do this. It's hard for, I don't realize while I'm doing this how many tens of thousands of people are listening. Moving along. Thanks. Blue sky. Not blinking. Oh, am I supposed to read this? Hold on. All right, this is from a kind lady who wrote me a handful of emails and I think she is the first, or one of the kind people, generous people who have tried to tell me about meditation, etc. Anyways, here we go. Let's just read on. Thanks, blue sky, not blinking eyes, Bigfoot merging. Title. Hi, Steve, Anonymous here. First of all, I want to reiterate what many people have already said in their emails you read on your channels. You're doing a great job, and I sincerely thank you for all your efforts. I'm not very big on compliments, because not only are compliments wonderful and important between individuals, both to give and to receive them, I'm very aware of the negative consequences on the ego of any person receiving too many compliments. It can become very hard for an individual to remain grounded when people are putting them up on a pedestal. Many people who consequently allow themselves to be put on a pedestal sometimes, unfortunately, end up suffering an undignified fall from the same pedestal. And there are plenty of examples of that. That said, I think you're very safe from that kind of ego inflation due to both your grounded lifestyle and your own awareness, which I see. Appreciate the kind words. Wise words. I want to say that your blue sky story was wonderful, authentic, and made me smile all day. So thank you for sharing that. What you experienced on an energy level was the elevation, however briefly, of your own mind-body energy frequency to a point of oneness with the frequency of the universe. It can be an overwhelming experience, hence the emotionality. It could have been just a moment or a couple of minutes, but you see that the effects and the memory last a long time with you. Also on its own, blue is a special color with a special frequency. Every single person on earth, whether they're consciously aware of it or not, even if they are the most evil person you know, is on a spiritual journey, which runs concurrently with the physical journey. Remember how spirit/energy body is sealed to our physical body, and how far any individual goes on their spiritual journey is entirely up to each and every individual. I will say that it happens that those people who have had difficult childhoods, if they do not succumb to consequential addictions, or if they truly overcome any addictions and any other consequential effects of their hard childhood, stand the best chance of advancing very far on their spiritual journey. Why? Because those who have seen/experienced bad often more readily recognize and align themselves to good. And such people cannot be easily misled. They tend to see the bad coming at them and can head it off. Along every life, there are triggers, such as your blue sky experience, Steve, which are akin to ladder steps on the road, invitations to rise the energy frequency within yourself, like a gentle reminder of your purpose, which is the same for everyone. To grow our spirit through experiencing physical life, and that includes especially the hardships of physical life. We often learn more and faster through the hard times than the good times. Pain is a great teacher. It can slap us in the face and yell, "Wake the F up," faster than anything. For all those consciously on the spiritual journey, I can assure them that enlightenment and cosmic consciousness is a real thing. And when you experience it, you will know it. These are just words and terms widely used to explain an actual event, a personal experience that is far beyond words, beyond terms, beyond explaining. You could call it the crowning of your long journey and your efforts. You're climbing a tree. Sometimes you may spend too long on one branch, but always there is another branch to explore. And always how long it takes you is entirely up to you. If we're climbing an apple tree and the tree gives its fruit freely to everyone, we don't have to give an apple to every person we see, but, we must give an apple to the person who tells you personally that he is hungry. Steve, your what if about not blinking when one sees a Sasquatch, or anything else for that matter, is exactly correct. There are many things in play when we look with our physical eyes, not least of which is our own consciousness. The act of blinking is a closing or an interrupting, while the act of staring, unblinking, is focusing. It's so easy to understand that not blinking will reveal more. Anybody who has experienced a physical vision knows, or at least can understand, that the eyes are actually dual-purpose pieces of organic, technical equipment. They operate like a camera in the physical realm, and they operate like a screen in the psychic realm, a screen onto which a psychic vision is projected. You can turn off what the eyes see in the physical realm simply by closing your eyes, but you can't turn off a psychic vision, but you can't turn off a psychic vision. It plays out like a movie on a screen till it ends, and only then can you see normally again. I hope that's helpful. A point about the Bigfoot that I saw in his energy form, yes, he was a great big hulking muscular giant of a being, just as most people describe him. But in his non-physical energy form, he looked not only transparent, but like as if composed of water. He walked and moved as if he owned the planet. I was staring at him. He did not blink, out and gone. He emerged into the forest and disappeared. I've seen some weird and strange beings, but never seen that particular watery quality before, nor that emerging that I witnessed, which I suppose might help explain how their footprints can reportedly just stop and appear to go nowhere at times. I know it all seems very far-fetched. For me personally, it is whatever it is. Imagine the first man who saw an apple just as food and then witnessed the seeds sprouting and creating a whole new tree. We only know what we know until we know more, is my point. I know you don't want to spend your time watching other channels, but the link I have added below at the 41-minute point, where the old guy, Ernie Davio, starts to give his very detailed account of his encounter with the Bigfoot. It's very interesting and very credible to me. I thought you may want to watch it. He makes a point about different types of Bigfoot, which really makes sense when you consider how diverse the human population is. Actually, I found the whole video quite interesting. Kind regards, Anonymous. There you go, all right? And appreciate your kind words and your emails big time. All right, just so you know. And your kind words and your words of encouragement for all here. What are we looking at here? Do I have the internet enough?
A lot of it is very hard to get into. That morning, it was the last day of hunting season in the state of Massachusetts for shotgun. And I know a lot of people, they say you can't hunt deer with a shotgun. Yeah, you can.
This is on a channel. I don't mind plugging this channel name because I know that he's plugged this channel. And he's got a lot of followers. It's called What Lurks Beneath. It's almost got 1 million frickin' subscribers on there. And this is the
shotgun 2 3/4 inch slugs. I only carried buckshot if I had to go into Mount Laurel or something like that. I knew which direction pretty much.
Who knows? This guy may have wrote into us, right?
To go up in the Westfield area.
If I get a chance, I'll listen to it. I appreciate the share. And there you go, you guys. Take from what you will or leave it, right? Where am I? Now I'm on YouTube. Hold on a minute. Get back to where I'm supposed to be. Let's getting you guys heard. Hold on a minute. All right, here we go. When Lies Began is the title of this email that has not been marked as read. Came in July. I believe it started in earnest at the advent of the Industrial Revolution. That's when the super rich made their plans to eliminate everyone and everything they couldn't control. I believe in the past we had the powers that Sabe do. If we needed to contact someone we loved, we simply opened the door, opened that door, and that person felt it and did the same. If we wanted to see a place we had never been, we simply meditated and traveled there, out of body, so to speak, like ancient maps drawn when nobody had ever been there. Supposedly. Also mind speak and telekinesis, etc. All who could perform such things were put in asylums or burned as witches, so that ability couldn't be passed on ever again. That's when they began perfecting the ability to control and deceive the masses, all to keep our intelligence low enough that no questions would be asked. You've asked many times why. That's why. The dark sons of bitches just keep asking for more dark power, and of course the devil gave it to them, furthering his cause. The gut feelings that lead your path of truth is that light placed in you by our Creator. If anyone wants more inspiration from that light, they need only to ask and act upon it accordingly. Ask and receive. Knock and it will be open to you. Line upon line until perfection is earned. You were right in track when you realized that the dread and the fear was not being projected from these beings. It's our light trying to keep us safe. Even those who know nothing about the light will get these premonitions because they aren't evil. It takes purposeful darkness over and over to remove this light or conscience from telling us what's right. Those in charge and in power have overcome that still small voice in themselves to the point they no longer hear it. Only dollar signs or more power has become what they are. I love listening to you speak of such things. I desperately try to help us all. I love listening to you speak of such things and desperately try to help us all be better and more helpful and hopeful. You're absolutely right. All of us and everything is connected. I'm with you to the end, my brother, and all things will be revealed in the end. Love and strength to all the club. If no return, the wrong will fail, the right prevail. This I testify you. Scott Hardy, Southern Utah, brother. Right on, Scott. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate it big time. Money, power corrupts. It's so true. We've heard that all our lives, right? No, money and power corrupts. But it really does. But there's some evil people out there, man. Like I said earlier, I said it a while back, because I made a comment to everyone, if you're a parent, to think about the fact that all these people who are making life really, really hard for a lot of us, they were all babies at one point, allegedly. But they were. They were all some's kid at one point, some little kid. And that little kid grew up to be a very dark, evil monster, but with a good, smooth delivery, right? How did they get like that? And then that made my brain go to, do you know if your kid's going to be like that? And I'm asking a dead serious question, you know what I mean? All you parents out there, are your kids going to are they going to replace those monsters with the new monsters that are craving power at all costs? All costs enough that they're going to sewer their own family members, you know what I mean? Their best friends in school, the people they grew up with, their community, their country, their world. Are your children going to grow up to replace those monsters and be the next new monsters? And if so, how do you think they're going to get there? You know what I mean? Like, how do you rub out the gene of the dark monsters that are ruining life as we know it today for many people? You know? Why do I even think of this shit? How come I care? You know, there's so many questions for me. You know what I mean? Why don't I just go fishing and not give a shit? But I do give a shit. It bugs me. Probably, you know why it bugs me so much, you guys? Is probably because of the monsters that were brought into my life without me having a choice, and everything that was lost to those monsters. And one of them was absolutely just a power craving, ruthless piece of feces that could breathe. You know what I mean? And that's exactly the people that he resembles, these exact same people that are in charge today. Exactly. Well-dressed, well-spoken, has a delivery, but just a dark, ruthless, power-monging parasite in real life that knows how to hide amongst them in public, you know? I'm rambling. I'm just saying, I'm quite certain that's where it has a lot to do with where I am today with my attitude and wanting to make sure nobody's going to stop you from doing nothing. And when the handful of people want you to not be heard and trying to stop me from being heard, guess what? Now you got to fight in your hands. You're not going to win. Period. Obviously, proven by what we're doing here. You know, we realize that sometimes there's 7 to 10 million hits a month on all my shit combined here. 7 to 10 million views combined. All because of all you brave people out there, right? I'm really rambling, but I just like to point out sometimes, you guys, that this place is just such a blatant example of what happens when you treat everyone with respect and kindness, right? And nobody is above the other. This is what happens. Big, powerful things happen, and you can't be stopped. And I wish that little tiny lesson would flood into the homes of every single person, everywhere, you know, to give courage and make everybody stop this nonsense that's going on and remove the dark, evil bastards, you know, and get this truth shared. Give everybody a fair crack at living the most absolute, awesome, fun as shit time here as possible. Please, Steve, don't share this on your YouTube. All right, I'll come back to you later, hopefully. It's funny, as soon as I read a title that says that, then I just keep scrolling down, and I don't read it. I don't ever go back, because this is my time to read now. What do we got? All right, here we go. Got a photo. Possible Bigfoot structure. Hey, Steve, long-time listener. Listen to your videos on YouTube every day on my way to work. I live in Toledo, Ohio, and I frequently drive down to Wayne National Forest and Salt Fork Park in Ohio to off-road my Jeep and do some hiking. It's about a 3.5-hour drive for me. I've had a lot of weird experiences in those areas. I found footprints, tree structures, and heard on multiple occasions wood knocks and trees being pushed over literally 20 yards from me. On my last trip down there, I found this structure while driving on one of the mud roads down there. This is about 40 miles from the nearest paved road. It's probably the most bizarre tree structure I've ever seen. Let me know what you think. The log that is stuck in the middle is over 100 pounds, and I couldn't find the source of where it came from. Thanks, Steve. You give us all hope. And P.S. I have a good video of it too, but the file's too big to send it through mail. Let me know if there's any way I can send it to you. All good, man. The photo example, and like you said, you couldn't see the source of where that log came from. I know somebody's probably going to recognize that and have an explanation for it of why they do it. Possibly. Not me, though. All I know is these people do some odd things in the forest, and I've seen it firsthand many times. But there you go. Share it, my man. Appreciate that. Appreciate the share. Sorry if you don't get too much of a reaction from me on the photos of these tree structures, because I'm not being rude. It doesn't do anything for me. Not at this stage of the game. Especially, I mean, you guys have seen that I've seen, right? I mean, especially, I know one place I wanted to take a picture. I tried a while back. I remember I tried a few years ago, right near where I hunt deer in the coastal mountains. I found in mature fir timber, Douglas fir timber, I found like thick too. Like not open, not big open bluffs or anything, like pretty fairly thick patch of timber. And I think I remember I tried to videotape it, but it just couldn't do it justice because it was too thick. But there was 12 different cedar logs bare. And I mean, we're talking the bases were like this on the ground. And they were leaning up and threaded through the branch of that Douglas fir going way up. I couldn't even see how high up the tree went because of all the canopy, right? But there's 12 of them around this one tree. And there's no stumps anywhere on that ground from where those logs came from. And they were old, like real old, you know, like full silver weathered poles. No man could have put one of them up. No man could have. It wouldn't have been remotely possible. I was near there the other day and I thought about going down there again and seeing if I could maybe videotape it to give it justice. Maybe I'll try again next time I go out there. And there's the other time where I've shared that video on here. Where those other 4 big logs, same deal, silver colored, faded out, branchless logs on the side of a rock face and the side of a mountain. And you can see in the video and the photograph, I've placed here lots of times. And they're all leaning on different angles to the top of that one Douglas fir inside of a mountain. And there's no question in my mind. Well, I didn't see a 10-foot tall hairy guy do it, so I can't say for sure that's who did it. But let's just say somebody did that that's way more powerful than I am. Like abnormal freaking strength. Why they did it? I don't know. Who knows? What are those for? Are they originally for energy? Possibly. Are they tapping into something when they do that? Are they tapping into some kind of energy? I don't know. I don't have a clue myself. A lot of people come up with guesses, but to my best of my knowledge to date, I don't think there's any human being that can dictate to us exactly what's going on with these structures, right? Not yet. You guess all you want. We're not going to know for sure until somebody tells us and shows us. You know what I mean? Until somebody places those logs on those trees right in front of us and then goes, see, this is how we do it. And this is what happens when we do this. Unfortunately, that's what it's going to take to explain it fully. There isn't I don't know of a human being right now that can dictate to me with absolute 100% confidence who's doing it and why. It's easy to call it a nest. It's just a Sasquatch nest. I found where they nest. Oh, boy. All right. At least they're looking, though, right? At least they're looking. They're trying to figure it out. Who's next? All right, this one is from last spring. Or the spring before. And it looks like it was not marked as read. It's from the Arizona 4. Hadn't heard from you guys for a while. This is titled Arizona 4 Note from Rob. All right. I think I'm allowed to read it. Greetings, Steve. So you're going to be in the southern U.S. Awesome, but hey, don't worry if you can't make it to Arizona this time. It's not like you said you wanted to go check out the Arizona 4 group. No, wait. You've actually said that a few times. Just busting your balls, sir. I'm replying to your March 21st, 2024, in case you don't get to this before I retire, post from Randy Black. It was about telepathically calling them. My guess is Randy must have been tagged somewhere in Outdoor Travels. Of course, this is my thought/opinion. There are a few things we Arizona 4 mutually agree on, is that what one knows, they all know. They know one's heart or one's intentions, meaning if you're a good person or bad. Do you or would you kill for no reason? Now back to my thoughts and experiences. If you call out either verbally in your head, you will be heard. Do ones have further range than the other? No freaking idea. I believe each of us is like a radio station. We transmit at different frequencies. Just like there are colors in heaven that are not on this earth. Who knows how this mind-speak telepathy actually works? All I can say is it does. This is my simple way to accept or process this mystery. Thus I move on to trying to figure out other stuff like how they make their eyes shine. Or can they freeze some right in their tracks, or what exactly is happening when they zap someone? Back Randy's question about them hearing him and the evil that one and the back Randy's question about them hearing him and the evil the one that replied spoke of. We've been told that if you speak of their names, that person, not that Bigfoot, Sabi, or Sasquatch, but person, will hear them. Distance will not seem to matter. Example of this is, we were talking about some activity that happened a long way from where we were at. Someone asked, what was the name of that mean son of a bitch and at so-and-so's ranch? Chuck was about to say this guy's name, and he and Kevin both got mind speak really loud saying, don't say his name. They said he would hear this. They did not want this guy coming into their area. This one was mean, old, and hated humans. Another example, which I believe was in a past long ago from me, but here it is again. Kevin and I were camped out and just having a good time enjoying the company we know was listening to us. Kevin told a joke and made a comment which continued our humorous evening. And as I was about to finish my humorous comment, I had a thought about one time we were camping in this very spot. Okay, bear with me. I have to veer off to tell this for the rest to make sense. Both Kevin and I got the feeling that all was not well there anymore. Then Kevin got the message to go in the camper. It was not safe. Kevin has really good mind speak, and mine is, well, sometimes like the old dial-up computers we used to have. Anyway, on the second not safe go in camper, we heeded the warning and advice. After a bit, we went back out. Sitting in the dark, we both felt like we should not be outside. We both felt there was someone in the front of the camper. In the front of the camper. A very big and powerful someone that was not happy with us. After a minute or two, Kevin got the go back in, not safe. And tone, he said, was not friendly, but rather in a pissed off tone. I did not get the not safe again, but I knew there was one very, very large and powerful being in front of my camper. Of course, it was pitch black, so we saw nothing. I could tell whatever that was not happy with us. I also got the feeling he did not want to be there, but had to. A trace, a resentment maybe? Kevin got similar feelings, so we called it a night. Okay, the squirrel's gone. Back to what the F just happened to me. I was about to finish my humorous comment to Kevin and was going to continue with a question about that night. I was about to ask Kevin out loud in hopes it would trigger an answer from one of the forest friends visiting us. What I was going to ask was if he thought the danger that night was a dogman or some evil entity. Well, I was just finishing my last comical comment and was about to fire that question out when I was shut down. I mean, in mid-sentence, my brain shut down. What I recall was that it felt like a hand entered me from the back of my neck and base of my hard skull, turned at a 45-degree angle, and exited basically through my forehead. I mean, everything was turned off instantly. No sight, no sound, no feeling. There was only blackness. Then I felt my brain rebooting back up. I had a thought that this is what a computer must feel like when it turns on. Kevin said I stopped talking and was frozen for about 8 seconds or so. Maybe a second or two longer, I forget. My hearing coming back first, because I heard Kevin asking if I was all right a few times. My sight slowly came back as well as my ability to move/speak. The thought in my head was, shut up, don't talk about that. This was no dial-up mind speak, it was loud and clear. I can say the speed that hand seemed to blow through my head was very fast. I'm guessing here, but it was like whoever did it was a distance from me, away from me, and realized my sentence waiting in my RAM to be spoke. I think the forest friend was at speed when they got to me and might have hit me harder than they were intending. Or they were just pissed off and let me have it. Lesson learned. I no longer speak about sorry you guys. I no longer speak about evil or dark beings. At least not at night. That was effing wild. I realized I have no power to stop that from happening. A couple minor typos, no big deal. None whatsoever. So, Randy, you calling them probably pissed at least one of them off, maybe for two reasons. Telling them, no commanding them to do something, and or calling them into an area that has danger for their weaker or younger ones. I take it, aka assume, you were in a city or populated area. I think they stay away from areas like this for a few reasons as well. The more humans in an area, the more dark forces will be attracted to that area. The one that replied might have been watch for that area. Keep track of bad guys and keep their young / less experienced ones out of dangerous areas. If so, then that one answering would be one of their badasses. I think. This is my thought. The ones that are soldiers or guards don't have the humor tolerance others, the clan or family have. I would guess that if this is true, he, another assumption, did not want any one of his clan being called into a dangerous area. Of course, this is just my crazy 2 cents. On your reading that USA-bound Steve Reed, on your reading that USA-bound Steve Reed, take it or leave it, your call. Well, gotta let the dog up for a bed. Gosh, the weather here is really nice. Hint, hint. Take care, Rob. Okay, I think I might have read that to myself. Did I read it here publicly? I can't remember. But it's a good thing to read again. And it's a good thing to read, period. I haven't heard from you guys for a while. You guys still out there doing your goofy shit in the woods or what? And maybe one of you guys wants to, you want to come on here and have a BS session with me, why don't you email me? We'll do it. I got a lot of questions. You guys spend a lot of time up there, right? I wonder how many years you guys have been at it, actually. I don't know. You've been at it for a while. And you've successfully communicated. I believe you or one of your group was healed, had an injury healing, like instantly around the campfire too, right? I wouldn't mind having you guys share that here with everyone to hear firsthand from you. It'd probably be a good time for me to have a good conversation with you guys now that I find myself being pulled in a direction and just going out in the woods and sitting there and going, all right, what's up? What's up? But it's hard to imagine getting a full conversation, you know what I mean? Because there's so many people out there, including you guys, who've had some sort of communication going on with whoever these beings are, but it never seems to be like, there just seems to be gaps. Do you know what I mean? Like senses or feelings or in visions showed. It's like a reel of pitches in your mind, and never a smooth sit down and have a beer and bullshit back and forth. Delivery back and forth. You know what I mean? And wouldn't that be freaking amazing if that could actually go down? Wouldn't it be? But I don't think if it did go down, if it could go down, I wouldn't be asking, I don't know, do you believe in God? Or who are you scared of? I think I just want to leave it wide open for them. Obviously, do I think they're good or do I think they're bad? On the fence. On the fence. On the fence. I'm open to both sides. I got a lot of people with a lot of experience telling me these are dark sons of bitches. Period. Don't let them fool you for a second. They're dark. And these are very intelligent people telling me this. Right? Then I got other people saying they're full of love. There's nothing but good comes from them. You got to open your heart and feel the love. You know what I mean? It's all over the map with a lot of people I respect. So that just leaves one thing. Got to go figure it out for yourself, right? But man, oh man, would I be... Because I think if it could actually go down and I keep my shit together, which I believe I could, I would be more... I think the appropriate thing for me would be to just say, what do you know? What do you know? What could you share with me about what you know? And then wait for that reply. You know what I mean? If it comes back as a question, I'd be like, I don't know. What do you know? What do you know about us? Like, what's one thing I know for sure? There's a lot of us trying to figure out what's going on with these people we know nothing about, but meanwhile, we don't have a freaking clue about us. A lot of people believe they do have an absolute full-on roadmap about us, where we come from, what we're supposed to be doing, our purpose, where we're going next. A lot of people are absolutely convinced they know that absolute answer. And that's fine. That's fine. I don't know the absolute answers yet. I got a good idea. And do I think sitting down on a log in the middle of the forest by myself and communicating with some unknown being is going to be the ultimate answer? Like, take it to the bank from this unknown species? Right? I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear from them, hear their view, you know? Obviously they know some shit we don't know. But holy cow, you guys, we really got to figure our shit out. Right? It's kind of silly. It's almost silly in a way if you look at it from common sense from another angle. Here we are, bashing our brains, trying to figure out the whys, hows, how comes. When it comes to another possible, whatever you want to call it, subspecies of human-type beings, when meanwhile we just can't figure our own shit out. We can't. I think one thing for sure that I've learned is being kind and helping people. That seems to be a real good thing for human beings. If you haven't done it, you should try it. Being kind and helping people who need it. That's probably one of the best lessons I've learned in my lifetime so far about what we're supposed to be doing for sure. I've learned that for sure. We are supposed to be helping each other, not killing each other, not fighting with each other. We're supposed to be helping each other. But it's tough to not want to destroy evil human beings. Plain and simple. Easy way to say it and deliver it. It's tough not to want to destroy dark, evil human beings. Anyways, listen to Miko. My brain's really kicking in. 2 coffees. Anyways, we'll leave it at that. I think tomorrow or the next day, maybe even tomorrow, you're going, or maybe you already did. I don't know. Whatever comes first. We're going to hear from another kind man that sat down here with and spoke with me. And we're going to have a lot more of that coming up soon. So, share my story, howtohunt.com. All right, get me your truth. And you guys from Arizona 4, any of you guys want to come on here and have a bullshit session with me? Let's do it. Email me, all right? You guys, just email me, let me know if you're in, and then I'll get Sarah to contact you and line that up. Okay? Okay. Here I go. Packing my shit. It's smoking hot outside. I gotta go fuel up. I got 10 jugs of gasoline I gotta fuel up. Then I gotta pack them all down to the dock. We use a quad to do that. I gotta go get some elk meat out of the freezer so I can feed myself on the dock for the next week. Put my game face on. Figure out where I'm gonna go tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. And hopefully do well. I can't wait to go hunting, man. I cannot wait to go up north and go hunting. Holy shit, I can't wait. I'm all over it. What else? That's about it, I think. Yeah, that's about it. I better get out of here. I could just sit here and babble all day. You know why I'm probably good at babbling is because I've been in the woods by myself for frickin' years talking to myself. Then right here, I just let it go open. What? Loud, I mean. Anyway, it's Sunday. I hope as many of you as possible is doing what you love to do today or yesterday or even tomorrow. I don't give a shit when, but I really, really, really try to encourage people to make sure they do what they love to do. All right? You have to. You must. That brings your vibration up, brings your energy up, puts a smile on your face, and it's contagious and it spreads around everyone around you, all right? So make sure you do what you love to do, all right? I'm gonna. And I'll be back tomorrow.